I'm working on that. So I think in 10 seconds we will be live on YouTube. And we have all the panelists together, so that's great, guys. Attendees are coming in as we speak. If it's okay, I think it's correct that everybody is seeing my screen.
Yes.
So I will manage the slides. If you can manage the questions in the Q&A later on.
You guys hear me?
Yes. So we have Sebastian also as a panelist. So I think everybody is in.
All right, can you hear me well?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
Is the audio fine? Because I have 3 different options just to make sure.
Yeah, I think it's okay. We have people already coming in. We can wait 5 till 6 more minutes before we can start. So 3 more minutes. I see people already joining. Thank you for showing up. Let's wait a little bit more. I also see some old friends joining. Hello, Olaf. Hello, Celeste. Welcome. Okay, let's wait 1 more minute before we start. I still see people joining. Okay, let's start. So thank you all for being here on our webinar ServiceNow Tokyo release highlights. We have some experts in the call that are showing you our highlights. But before we start, some housekeeping rules. Please mute your lines. Submit your questions via the Q&A, please, not via the chat. Those are 2 different things. So please via the Q&A, so our experts can directly answer all of your questions. Don't worry, we will email you the recording afterwards. This is a session that's also live on YouTube, and we will tomorrow. Everybody that has registered will get the recording. And then the only thing you need to do is sit back and enjoy. Just a quick overview of our tour guides today. For HRSD, we have Wolf. For SPM, we have Panos. For FSM, we have Sergio. For CSM, it's Sebastian. IRM and GRC is Maximilian. Agile ITSM, it's Dennis. And we will close today with CMDB and CSDM with Rogier. But just to break the ice, we would like to prick your brain. So we have a first question. I will launch it now. What release are you currently running? Please vote, because we really like to know where you are at the moment. Let's give it a vote, people. 5 more seconds. Okay, and then let's share the results. Okay, Rome or older, San Diego, and only one person has Tokyo. So okay, then this is great. Then let's go to the first one. HRD, Wolf, you can kick it off.
Yes, thank you. So welcome everyone. Today I'm going to tackle the topic of HRSD. And specifically, we're talking about Manager Hub. So Manager Hub is a new functionality that has been released in the Tokyo release, but it's also now available on San Diego and on Rome as well. So why would you use Manager Hub? Well, Manager Hub gives you, as a manager, a global overview of how is your team doing, what are they currently working on. It will identify urgent actions that you need to take as a manager, and it allows you to learn and to grow in your role as a manager as well. So it's available as part of the Employee Center Pro portal and license as well. And it exists out of 3 different tabs or pages. The first tab or page is the overview. So the overview gives you a quick glance on important action points that you need to take. It, for example, team events, requests that have been opened by team members, sick leaves and holidays, and even your own to-do list, and much more. It's also fully customizable. So in the backend, you can easily identify which tables you want to show and what records specifically. Then secondly, or the second page available is the Your Team page. Your Team page gives you a detailed view on who is actually part of your team and how to easily contact them. So it includes a link to your organizational chart. It gives you the ability to contact individual team members, but also to contact your team as a whole. Again, this is also fully customizable, so you can choose what you want to show on this page as well. And then the third part, or the third page, is the manager library. The manager library is the single source of truth on how you want to grow as a team leader. It provides you all of the tools and all of the resources needed to do so. And for doing this, it's actually using seasonal and personal targeted communication, for example, links, knowledge articles, and many more. This was a quick overview of how Manager Hub is working and how it will look like in the Tokyo release. I hope that you all learned something new and interesting, and I'll hand it over now to my colleague Panos for SPM.
Thank you, Wolf, for the handover. Hi, all. Welcome in this highlights. So I would like to highlight 3 main areas, part of SPM, or otherwise strategic portfolio management, through 2 areas related to APM, application portfolio management, and 1 related to BPM. So starting with the first, the technology reference model, or TRM, is a new functionality introduced as part of the Tokyo release, which will actually enable and help enterprise architects to define and manage software product standards. So it will give them the possibility to really define and track these standards, and to be able to understand which business applications actually have a technical depth throughout the organization. And also at the same time to be able to review and even approve this technical depth. On the other hand, solution owners, also an important role as part of this process, will be able to request new software via dedicated record producers that ServiceNow has introduced. And actually, one of the benefits is that this new functionality will really boost the communication between these 2 crucial roles as part of this process. To continue on the second highlight, the architectural artifacts. Also a new functionality introduced as part of the Tokyo release, which will actually help, again, enterprise architects to be able to describe a system, solution, or even a state of the enterprise through these artifacts. Why? In order to support their architectural design process. The benefits, it will actually come with a review and approval mechanism process behind it, so that we can always have a version controlled authority on these artifacts, and also to be able to manage these better at the same time. Also, one step back, Kearton, sorry. It will actually provide us also with different architectural categories based on the TOGAF framework. Categories that will enable us to categorize all these architectural artifacts according to the needs of the organization. This comes as predefined out-of-the-box categories, but of course we can configure them further as part, again, as part of the needs of the organization. The last topic as part of SPM, focusing more on projects and their financials, providing actually project managers now with a more real-time consolidated financial view. What ServiceNow has improved actually as part of the financial overviews that we gain in our projects is to create more visibility from a single location with throughout actually all the financial metrics, even breaking these down into fiscal, into a specific fiscal period, by month, quarter, year, so that we can actually, as a project manager, identify where we need funding actually, and to be able to take better financial decisions for our project. Having actually this real-time insights will really help project managers to not only take better decisions, but also take the right decisions in whether to stop a specific initiative or investment, or even to invest further. Actually, that was really missing from our projects and the project, let's say, functionality of ServiceNow. That was it from my end. Thank you all for listening to me. I would like to hand it over to Sergio to talk a bit more about field service management. Thank you all again.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me well, and I hope that my previous sickness does not bother too much my voice or my speech. For field service management in the Tokyo release, there are many different updates. Actually, there's many new functionalities, but for the sake of this webinar, we have chosen the functionalities around three main domains, specifically around the asset and resource management, the workforce assignments, but also everything regarding planning. For more details on the different updates that are part of the Tokyo release, I would personally recommend to have a look on the release notes of the products. The first functionality we would like to talk about is regarding the territory planning. And this is a new functionality for territory planners or dispatchers, which allows us to now visualize live in ServiceNow the different regions, territories, areas, geographically speaking, that your services cover in ServiceNow. This, of course, as you can see on the screenshot in the slide right now, this allows us to visually see represented on the map all the different assets, but also resources and even field engineers that are located to a specific territory, so that you can segment the work assignments more specifically in your organization. This functionality is part of the FSM Pro feature. So for users that already are part of the FSM Pro SKU, by upgrading to the Tokyo release, you will have these new functionalities as well, and are now part of FSM. A new update that we also have in field service management concerns the planned work management, which is a very nice feature that has been added to the product, since from a project implementation point of view in the past has been taken very often and commonly as a customization in the platform, since it was a need that was long overdue. This allows, of course, the administrators and the maintenance planners to plan recurrent activities, whether on site or around specific assets or CIs in an organization, based on criteria. As you can see on the screenshot, you can base your conditions to automate the creation of these maintenance tasks. Now, of course, this specific functionality, based on the criteria and on the way that we configure it in ServiceNow, has naturally a dependency on your CSDM or CMDB data structure in ServiceNow. Last but not least, we have capacity and reservation management functionalities added to field service management. And this one specifically helps not only planning accordingly the workload for your internal employees, but also to properly manage your third-party contractors. This functionality allows us to assign work to resources based on their capacity, so that we don't overbook resources and that we can properly manage and maintain the work that is allocated to our workforce, but also allows us to, as mentioned, properly manage the contractors that we have by also including their schedules and their availability, so that we can properly dispatch them from the central dispatch in ServiceNow. With this, we can, of course, maximize the utilization of the resources, but also be able to, similar to the capacity management or the resource management functionalities in products like, for example, the strategic portfolio management, it allows us to gradually release these capacity buckets across different schedules, so that we can also properly plan these resources. This, along with all the functionalities previously mentioned, they allow us to properly and better manage the contractual obligations that we have with any third party or vendor, but also to add more granularity and capacity controls to our allocation rules. These and every other functionality that we have seen today regarding field service management, they are all part of the FSM Pro SKU. That doesn't mean that every update coming with the Tokyo release is exclusively part of the FSM Pro SKU. And that's why, and given the amount of updates that come with this release, I would recommend having also a look on the release notes, since there are other functionalities not specific to this SKU that are also included in the products. And that was it for field service management. Now we have a second question. I'll give the floor to Kirtan.
Yes, thank you, Sergio. We will go to the second poll question. Wait a minute. Number 2 is coming up. Launch polling. What is the estimated amount of time it would take your organization to complete an upgrade? Please vote. We really like to know. Regarding our expert Ruben, it should not take longer than 1 or 2 days. And if so, please send us an email so we can give you all the secrets. Two more seconds and end polling. Oh, longer than a week, 60%. 1 week, 29%, and 11%. This is just 1 or 2 days. So this is, this is not good to hear for everybody, but a challenge for us. So if you need some help in upgrading faster, please let us know by info@plat4mation.com. And now we will go to CSM, Sebastian.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So I'm here today to tell you what is new in customer service management in this release. The topic in this release was AI, AI, AI. So we have a lot of great features to look forward to. Let's jump right in with the first one, the sentiment analysis. So here we are taking our pre-trained AI models to predict the sentiment or the emotional state of our customer when they create the case, but also with each update to predict the sentiment over time. Because at the end, our job as in the customer service management is to make our customer happy. So even if they start off negative, right, we want to make sure the sentiment improves, and in the best case, they end up positive, so we can provide them great customer experience and a better customer satisfaction. By having the sentiment, we can actually take proactive actions. We can trigger workflows, we could prioritize the case, we could escalate the case, we can make sure it gets to the right people to work on it to make sure our customer gets happy again. All of the features that I'll be showing today are also part of the CSM Pro and the Enterprise SKU. That is because we are leveraging the AI models of ServiceNow. Our next feature is called the document intelligence. We all know how it is. You get a case and you have attached a PDF with multiple pages. And the first thing you have to do before you can actually start with your actual work is inspect the attachment, copy information out of the attachment into fields of your case. Not anymore. With document intelligence, we train AI to actually go through our attachments, find out fields like the vendor name, the invoice number, maybe an amount of money or a due date, and fill them into the appropriate fields on our case form. By doing that, we can not only improve the routing and make sure it gets to the right place straight away without any manual interaction, we can trigger workflows and ultimately reduce the manual effort for our agents to make sure they can spend time doing what they do best, working to make our customers happy. On our next feature, we are taking this to an even further level. It's the case categorization, which is split into two parts. First, language detection, which is something that we already saw in our last release highlights, that has now been improved by providing you pre-trained already a bunch of languages that we can predict based on text, as well as the attached documents on our case to make sure it gets to the right people that actually have those language skills. But now to the cherry on the cake, I would say, we are using again information from the attached document to now predict field values, and not only, as we saw in the document intelligence, take information A, like an invoice number, and fill it into the invoice number field. No, we're looking at the document and predicting, for example, priorities, categories, or the assignment group of our case. Like in the example that we're seeing here on the screen, we know, hey, this is a billing invoice. It probably has to go to our billing support team. And we can take this even a step further. If we find like an address, for example, like we see here on the screen, we could even predict which regional support team has to work on this case. By this, as usual, with all of our AI solutions, we will eliminate manual tasks and administrative overhead. We can trigger workflows, improve the routing, and reduce things like excessive routing rules, or having the need for multiple inboxes, using tons of different inbound email flows to make sure where our cases need to go, will no longer be necessary with this feature. So with this whole package, which is now called the Task Intelligence, you can get a supercharged case management. So it's definitely worth checking out the CSM Pro Suite in Tokyo. And with that, thanks for your attention. I'll be handing over to Maxi for IRM and GRC. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sebastian. As Sebastian already mentioned, I will tell you a little bit about the new features of IRM and GRC. I was handpicking 3 features, but yeah, ServiceNow was investing again a lot into the IRM suite, the IRM applications, and it was really difficult for me, but I decided to introduce you to 3 highlights, which are personally the highlights of this Tokyo release for me. As a first highlight, I want to talk a little bit about the IT compliance workspace. So ServiceNow makes it now able to, that the IT compliance manager has its own filtered view of the compliance workspace. Up to now, enterprise compliance data and IT risk and compliance data was a little bit mixed up in the workspace, and it was difficult to monitor all the IT risk and compliance related data. Now it is possible by simply tagging data, so you can decide which data is defined as IT risk and compliance relevant, to get a filtered view on all the on the current compliance status of your IT compliance. So all the graphs, all the charts, all the lists are filtered on objects you define to be relevant for the IT compliance manager. This can be, as I say, easily done on every record, but for sure, ServiceNow recommends already certain records to be tagged as IT risk and compliance relevant. That makes the life of the IT compliance officer easier. And in the case you're in the role of IT compliance officer and enterprise compliance officer, ServiceNow still offers you to have both views in one workspace. So all the objects would be simply doubled. So all the lists would be doubled and one time filtered on IT relevant data and a one time filtered on enterprise compliance data. As a next feature, I want to talk a little bit about the Heatmap enhancements. So there was a lot of enhancements done on the Heatmap chart or the Heatmap graph in the workspace. Up to now, it was only possible to see in the Heatmap how many risks are located in, for example, the high risk area, how many low risks do I have. But now ServiceNow enables you to get detailed information about the risks in the Heatmap. So you see which risks is located in which section of the Heatmap. And by just simply clicking on one of the risks, you immediately get in the same window all the relevant information of that risks. That makes for sure reporting towards C management easier. Furthermore, you are able to do trend analysis within the Heatmap. So you can see how the risk moved between the inherent risk assessment and the residual risk assessment to understand if your mitigation strategy actually works. You can also follow a risk over certain time points. So if you have multiple data points, you can follow if over time the risk was lower or if it increases and you have to take action on that. For sure, that makes, as I said already, the life of the risk manager easier to monitor the relevant risks which you have to take action on, and also makes it easy to report towards the management. As a last feature, I want to talk about, actually, for me, the biggest highlight of the Tokyo release is the integration between DevOps and the IRM application, especially policy and compliance. So you can now link such so-called code checks via code engine to control objectives and policies you define for your DevOps process. And the compliance manager gets in time view on compliance status of the DevOps processes. So he can take action if he or she can see that something goes wrong in the DevOps process, and before deploying to, and you can make sure that before deploying to a productive instance, all the whole DevOps process is compliant. Furthermore, it also eases the life for the developer, because he gets also live update about the compliance status of certain records he's working on, or certain scripts. So if a code check identifies that the script you want to deploy is not compliant with the control objectives of the compliance team, then you immediately get a non-compliant message on your screen, and you know, okay, let's look up what is actually the policy there and correct it before I finish my work and invest a lot of time in it. That makes the life of the compliance officer easier, as well as the DevOps team. With that, I'm done with the highlights of IRM and GRC, and will hand over to my colleague. Okay, I will hand over to Kirtan again, which will ask you the third question.
Yes, thank you, Max. So we are at the last poll question. Because we really would like to know, if we offered a deep dive webinar for just one product, which one would that be? You have multiple choice options, so please fill in so we can get the experts together and organize a brand new webinar for you. Please vote so we know. I'm really curious what the attendees has to say about this one. And if your option is not on the list, just please put it in the chat or in the Q&A so we take it with us. I will close the poll and I will share the results with you. What is number 1? Oh, it's ITSM. HRSD second. Oh no, it's CSDM and CMDB second. Really interesting stuff, people. Thank you very much for voting. We will take it with us. And again, if your answer is not on the list, please drop it in the chat. So we go to Agile ITSM with Dennis.
Thank you. Actually, there are 3 things that I wanted to highlight today, and one of them being DevOps Config, literally the application that my colleague Maximilian was talking about. So yeah, let's just jump into it, and let's first talk about what a DevOps Config or DevOps configuration, however you want to put it, is. So in essence, it's a variable that validates and manages the configuration data of your enterprise applications across pretty much every stage of the DevOps pipeline. In essence, it is a big bucket for a lot of integrations that help you aggregate the data of your DevOps tools and processes in one place. It also helps you to manage the data and then automatically validate the configuration. And the example with the IRM was one of the ways that you can use DevOps config application. Of course, it helps you to evaluate the process and results. And the core of that, as I mentioned before, is just using it in conjunction with other ServiceNow applications. If you think about it, DevOps config acts as a test tool. It helps you to automatically validate your data before deployment to prevent non-compliant changes, for instance, and to make sure that you follow whatever policy framework there is, whatever policy framework is implemented within your company or within your instance. This validation before deployment occurs by executing policies on the configuration data. And actually, the DevOps config policy contact pack includes a lot of generic policies that check either for standard technical issues or for issues associated with the best practices like COBIT, for instance. In the end of the day, the idea is that DevOps config becomes the single source of truth for your configuration data. It's not the source of the tool, it is just a place where you gather this data. And just keep in mind that even though it prevents non-compliant changes through the validation, the security is going to be, the validations are going to be as good as the data that is provided by those integrations. Can we move on to the next one? Thank you. So the other one I wanted to look at was the Agile Development. And Agile Development is a piece of software that helps you to track your product-based or project-based efforts using the Scrum framework. It helps you to implement a pure Agile approach over the entire lifecycle or implement some sort of hybrid approach using Agile methods to some extent within a traditional project structure. Some of you will notice that Agile Development is not a new product. And to be perfectly honest, if you look closer at the backend changes, you would also see that aside from some small fixes, not much have changed from the backend perspective. But the reason I wanted to put some attention to Agile Development 2.0 is to highlight the fact that ServiceNow keeps maintaining and updating existing modules, especially those that have been around quite often. So in this particular case, we are actually getting a full, fresh new UI, which looks very nice. And personally, I just love to see that the products are not forgotten once they are developed. And the fact that ServiceNow invested into reworking the UI from scratch, to me, shows a lot about their commitment towards their platform. Can we? Yes, thank you. And last but not least is the change model success module. The change model success module indicates on the landing page how successful each change model or each change type is. It includes a performance analytics dashboards for drilling down into the various models for breakdown by categories and other filters. What you can do, you can use the historical data behind certain team or behind certain change model or change time to get some insights into performance, to get it in a form of a simple score, a simple number that you can look at and you can put on your reports. And it has 3 key dashboards that I wanted to talk about. So one dashboard is the change success score dashboard. Some of you might already know and might already be using that one. But what it does, it uses the data from your change records to give you the resolution on efficiency of every team over a certain time base. Then you have your change type success dashboard. It does pretty much the same thing, but now it looks at your changes from the perspective of the change types. Again, you're getting a bunch of aggregated data, you're getting your trends now in the context of the change types. And the one that I love personally the most would be the change model success dashboard. And this is the new one that is coming in Tokyo, and it reuses the same data. It works with the same data, but now it displays not only the existing situation, but it also provides you with the trends. So in essence, with those trends, you'll be able to predict how successful the next change would be for that team or for that location or for that type, which well, makes us less reactive and more proactive. And that's what we want to do after all. And I will pass it on to my colleague right here.
Yeah, thanks, Dennis. I'm over here, and I'm here to talk about CMDB and CSDM features. There's a lot of small features coming in Tokyo, so no real big significant changes, but a real large amount of small changes. And the ones I've chosen is the CMDB Workspace Attestation, Intelligent CMDB Source Search, and the Multi-Source CMDB Enhancement. And I'll first start with the CMDB Workspace Attestation. So what we see at a lot of customers is that data management and data quality of the CMDB is a hard issue to manage. But what we also see is that they're not using a lot of out-of-the-box features that help you, like audits and like data certification. And one new feature that's part of the CMDB Workspace 3.0 in Tokyo is the data attestation. And that basically allows you for CI owners to record the attestation of a CI's existence in an automated recurring way based on policies that you can define. So you can define like every 6 months, the servers need to be attested for existence, or every quarter, the business applications need to be attested that they exist and that the data is correct. So this is one of the tools from ServiceNow that's out of the box with the workspace that allow you to manage the data quality without having to manually intervene in between. So the CMDB Workspace Attestation then allows and sends CI owners to record their review in the CMDB data managers. And it basically assigns tasks to these people to review the CI. So you can say like, oh, these 20 new CIs came in, please review them and attest that they're correct. Or you can look at certain policies, like if something's not been discovered for 90 days, please send an attestation to the owner that they can attest, hey, the CI still exists, it's still relevant, and something needs to happen with it. So the benefits of it is that a lot of customers have certain regulations that they need audits or need to be in compliance with certain regulatory industries. And this is one tool that can help you in an automated way with that. Additionally, it just supports you as one of the out-of-the-box tools like audits, like data certification, and keeping a high-quality CMDB that prevents the existence of old data, but also ensures that the data is there, is correct, and actually verified by the owners. So the typical audience for this would be CI owners or class owners, and it should be part of the governance in your organization to establish that around the CMDB. So if that is something that's missing, you can connect with us to help you with that. And it's basically a store plugin that's part of the CMDB Workspace 3.0 and has no licensing implication. Next up, I would like to talk about the intelligent CMDB search. So this is also part of the CMDB Workspace 3.0. And what this basically allows you is expose the data in the CMDB to less technical users. If we look at the CMDB and we look at how certain things are placed in certain classes, it requires knowledge of those classes to be able to find things. The IP switches are in the IP switch table, the Windows servers are in the Windows server table, and intelligent CMDB search allows you to search with simple natural language queries in the CMDB from basically by any user. So you can perform powerful, even multi-table queries using simple language, and the AI helps you to kind of best and supports you in what you want to find. Now, this, for an example here, is all servers with Log4j software, or show me all IP switches in Taiwan, or show me all the Windows servers that are running in the Netherlands, or all Windows servers that are running on certain applications. It basically takes your query and it then looks in multiple tables in the CMDB to find the best results that fit with you. So it removes kind of the limitations of the CMDB where you would need complex queries to find stuff. And it's basically based on plainly worded language that all personas, all stakeholders of the CMDB can use. It again comes with part of the NLQ plugin, which is then installed with the CMDB Workspace 3.0. And the 3.0 is an update that comes with Tokyo. So the current release is 2.0, and in Tokyo, the 3.0 CMDB Workspace comes. Lastly, I want to talk about the multi-source CMDB enhancement. So as customers are maturing their CMDB, part of that is that they're connecting multiple data sources to their CMDB. You might be running Discovery, but you might also be importing things from Mecum or from Qualys or from any other tool that has your IT infrastructure data or scans that in some kind of way. And from ServiceNow recommendation and also from Plat4mation, having multiple sources confirm data about the same CIs improves the quality of your CMDB. So let's say Mecum has certain values for the serial number and for other data, and Discovery also finds that data. If you have two data sources verifying the data, that improves the quality of your data. And also if they say different stuff. And what they're basically coming with in Tokyo is having enhanced reporting capabilities specifically for these multi-source CMDB. So there's a specific table in ServiceNow where multi-source data is stored, and this query builder basically allows you to search into that table in a smart way to compare these different data sources to each other. Let's say in an organization, I'm running Discovery to find my Windows server, and I also have a rollout of Windows Defender. And those are both integrated with the CMDB. If I see that I find a number of servers with Discovery, but not with Windows Defender, that means our mandatory Windows Defender is not installed on that server. I can run a report, hand it over to security, and they can work with the gap that's in that Discovery source. Now, one thing that's important to note, if you are struggling with the size of your instance, you also have to pay for the size of your instance, of course. The multi-source CMDB does increase the table size with the multi-source CMDB table. So if you have a lot of sources, you can choose kind of which sources it should and should not, but it will increase the size of your instance. So basically the benefits are you can gain insight in how your different discovery sources are populating your CMDB, how reliable they are. You can find CIs that are not discovered by any discovery source, so manual CIs, for example. And you can find the discrepancies that are found by one discovery source, but not by other discovery source. And in the end, that will improve the data and the quality of your CMDB. So this is typically for IT operations management and IT operations engineers that work with the CMDB. It has an impact on the size of the instance, and it comes with no licensing impact. It's basically a store plugin. That was it for me. I'll hand it over to Kirtan now to lead the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Rogier. Absolutely great. We are coming to the Q&A, so let me go to the Q&A and check if all questions are answered. Yes, let me check the chat if there are some open questions. I have one from Andre. What is the difference between CMDB attestation and CMDB health rules? Maybe Rogier can answer.
So the attestation is actually aimed at data owners to attest the existence of a CI, and most of the CMDB health rules are tasks that usually get assigned to CMDB teams on there's a stale CI, or there's some values that are not, or it's failing an audit. And it's very hard also to configure the CMDB health dashboard. It's a very old dashboard. There's some small improvements coming in Tokyo, but also those health rules require you to modify things in the backend so they have access to those CMDB tasks and the different tables. And this workspace manager basically allows you, based on simple policies, to assign to data owners, hey, can you verify that this CI exists? Please, and with the simple workspace that they can use, basically.
Thanks. Any other questions? I see one in the Q&A from Chris. Is it on purpose that you don't discuss all the modules today? Yes, it's on purpose, Chris. In our last webinar, we had 13 topics, and it was a little bit too much. So we asked the attendees, what should be our next format? And we came till on 6 or 7. Therefore, we ask you also the question, would you like to have a deep dive on another topic? So please, if you want that, Chris, just put it in the Q&A, and then we will check with our subject matter experts to organize another deep dive webinar for just one module. Any other questions? No. Then I would like to thank everybody for its time. We really appreciate it. If you want to have contact with us, just contact us via info@plat4mation.com. We really appreciate that you're came in with big numbers. We're here for you, and we are now already working on our next webinar. So hope to see you soon, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.